worked hard your whole life to get where you are. You've built expertise, you've earned respect, and you've climbed to the top of your game. But now it feels as if your brain is not your own. Words vanish mid-sentence. Focus slips through your fingers, and none of the usual strategies that you've developed over time are working. You're exhausted, emotional, and worse still, you're suddenly questioning if you've lost your edge. You haven't. What you may be dealing with is the not so fun cocktail of menopause and ADHD. Millions of women are in the same boat, but research hasn't really caught up. I'm Denise Medved, the creator and founder of the Ageless Grace Brain Health Program in 50 US states and 34 other countries. I love learning about neuroscience and using this knowledge to help others. So I'm thrilled to be part of this podcast series called The Fog and the Fury, where we finally explore what happens when ADHD and menopause collide. Each week, we'll sit down with leading neuroscientists, researchers, and women who know about this firsthand. We'll tackle the biology, the psychology, and the stigma. And we'll share practical and science-based strategies that you can actually use. Because the fog is real and the fury is valid. And if you've ever lost your train of thought in the middle of an important meeting, or your brain feels like a computer with too many tabs open, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to The Fog and the Fury. Our guest today is Dr. Sandra Coy, and is a highly esteemed psychiatrist and researcher, especially in the field of hyperactivity attention deficit disorder, ADHD. She's professor on adult ADHD at the Department of Psychiatry, Amsterdam University Medical Center, head of the Dutch Expertise Center Adult ADHD at PsyQ in The Hague, founder and president of the European Network Adult ADHD, and co-initiated the H3 network in the Netherlands with a cardiologist and gynecologist aiming to improve integrated health care for women with ADHD. Dr. Coy's dedication to improving the understanding, diagnosis, and treatment of adult ADHD has significantly impacted the field. Today, we will speak specifically with her about the overlap of ADHD and the fluctuation of hormones in the menopausal phase of life. Welcome, Dr. Coy. We're so happy to have you with us.
Thank you.
So I want to jump right into the fact that in July, very recently, you published a review with your colleagues called Research Advances, excuse me, and Future Directions in Female ADHD, the lifelong interplay of hormonal fluctuations with mood, cognition, and disease. And you covered the entire scan of women's hormonal fluctuations throughout their lives. And the one we're particularly interested in today, as it affects so many women, both in their business and professional life, but also in their personal relationships with family and friends, is the overlap of menopause and ADHD. And there's a wonderful section in your research review where you talk about not only what we know about that, but what the gaps are in research. Would you like to just share with us a little about that and what might be coming down the pike that might help people, women with ADHD and menopause?
Yeah. Well, yes. I learned as a psychiatrist for my patients that hormones are important, and especially the fluctuations during 3 episodes in women's lives. It's the premenstrual week, that's the postnatal episode, and that's perimenopause and postmenopause. And all those 3 episodes have one thing in common, it's that estrogen and progesterone drop. And this is a normal process that's necessary for giving birth to children in the end. But when you've had that, it finishes forever to never return. And many people say it's a good thing that all those fluctuations are over. But the bad thing is that you lose estrogen, which is the main driver of your cognition, your mood, and your memory, and also of brain health, of heart health, and bone density. So the female hormone has much more to say about our bodies than only working on reproductive processes in the body. And when we lose them, we in fact grow old, and which is associated with age. Menopause comes at a certain age. The mean age is 51 in my country. But in ADHD and neurodivergent women, possibly also in general, menopause might start earlier. And there is very few research on it. Basically, only one study, and the second is coming soon. It's a study from Iceland to be published, I hope soon, showing that the symptoms of perimenopause, with all the physical and mental problems such as mood swings, hot flashes, difficulties with joints and connective tissue, mood, ADHD severity increases, everything goes out of your hands, out of control. And this is more severe in people, women with neurodiversity. And this may start earlier than you think. So a common perimenopause starts around age 40, but in women with ADHD, because it lasts 10 years, perimenopause, 40 to 51, but in women with ADHD, it may start even earlier in your 30s. And this is what nobody knows and nobody expects. And this may explain why so many women have difficulties with mood, cognition, having overview, somatic complaints, relationship difficulties, anger outbursts in that earlier phase of life when nobody thinks of perimenopause. And this still has to be confirmed by more research, this younger age of onset of perimenopause. And we still don't know why this is happening and what it is related to, but it's a genetic based trait in ADHD, the early menopause. That's the one study by De Montis in 2019 showing that early menopause was associated with ADHD. But yes, so I tell you a lot. There might be an earlier menopause. Menopause is more severe for women with ADHD. And this has to do, I think, with interaction of the brain dopamine system. Dopamine is important also for cognition, mood stability, and attention and overview, making decisions, being able to plan, being efficient, that kind of stuff. This executive functioning is driven by dopamine. And dopamine and estrogen have been shown in the literature to be brother and sister in the brain. They work closely together. They do have the same functions. And the hypothesis is that when your estrogen is high, for instance, in the first half of the cycle, your ADHD is less severe as compared to the last half of the cycle when estrogen is going down and your dopamine is already not quite as it should be. We suppose in ADHD because the ADHD medications improve the dopamine levels in the brain, and that works very well for the symptom reduction. So if you have dysregulation of dopamine and you have low estrogen in the last week of the cycle, that's really hell. And that happens again after giving birth in women with ADHD and during perimenopause, of which perimenopause is the most severe period because it may last up to 10 years. Thank you.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have some insights to help women suffering from both ADHD and menopause, or either or both? Maybe they suspect that they have ADHD because they are in perimenopause. Excuse me. Do you have some insights to give women to help understand and manage what's going on with them?
Yeah. Well, there are many women that only find out that they have ADHD in that episode because then their complaints are really uncontrollable. Then they really are not able to cope or to mask or to hide or to whatever, do what they did to manage ADHD. I have seen many women coming in my office saying, I could always cope with being a bit restless, being a bit chaotic, a bit moody now and then, but everybody and I could cope. But now with perimenopause, I can no longer. And this is due to the loss of estrogen and the fluctuations of estrogen. And well, what helps, if that's the hypothesis, you can do several things. You can increase estrogen levels, you can increase dopamine levels, and you can do both. And you can increase serotonin levels using an antidepressant. This is a way of treating perimenopausal mood problems a lot. It has been proven effective already a long time ago. But increasing the ADHD dosage is something that might help, depending on the severity of the complaints. So women complain, my medication that used to help throughout the whole month is now suddenly earlier and earlier every month, not sufficient. And this might be a sign of perimenopause entering. So then increasing the dose a bit based on whether or not it's safe in your situation for your heart health, your blood pressure, and your sleep and your mood can help. Hormone suppletion therapy can be very dramatically helpful as well. And we now use only transdermal estrogen, which is very safe, and you don't get any cancer of it. And it's also better for against blood clotting and that kind of stuff. So the transdermal estrogen is low dosed and very safe. And of course, if you still have uterus, you also need progesterone, and then the bioidentical form of progesterone. And this is in every guideline, also in the United States. So your doctor should be able to find the right dose and the right compound. And sometimes women need both, because ADHD is something different than hormonal fluctuation, but they impact similar domains. So some women are happy and walk out of my office with just hormone suppletion therapy. And thank you that a psychiatrist had to say this to me. Why didn't my GP tell me, or the gynecologist? It's a strange world now and then. But what I tell them, I learned from a gynecologist. This is the H3 network that you mentioned, the Head Heart Hormones
Yes.
Network, in which we cooperate with gynecology and cardiology and psychiatry and GPs in order to offer integrated healthcare for women, because that's what we need. Women are not just hormones or just heart problems or just mood problems or ADHD issues. They have everything at the same time, and menopause increases the severity of everything. So we need integrated healthcare. So we need to teach each other and to work together. I'm not sure whether I did answer your question in the beginning, but I did try.
Yes, you did. You did. Um, a lot of women go to their doctors and they aren't given the right information about what they can do. They're just given a, like take this pill or take this patch, and they aren't given enough information about what's going on. Are there words of comfort that you can give to women who are experiencing menopause and ADHD? Because many women have told us that they feel as if they're losing their minds. They were able and capable with
Yeah,
their families, their friends, their workplace, in their career,
yeah.
and suddenly they feel unable to perform.
Yes, I understand. But it's really important that we do more research so that the word is out to science and to healthcare professionals of all disciplines, because hormones touch every organ in a female body. Not only the mind, also the bone and the heart and the skin and your immune system and your sleep, everything. So what the comfort I can offer is education. That's one thing. So I started ADHDpowerbank.com. This is a website where we deliver short videos on ADHD, including on female issues and the hormones. And this is a subscription website together with my colleague and friend Dora Weinshank, because we want to offer short videos of only 20 minutes where you can pick what you like, what you need to know, what you're interested in. And it's both for patients or experienced experts and professionals, but it's understandable language for everyone. And I wrote a book with an experienced expert here in the Netherlands, Jacqueline van der Zande. And this book is currently being translated by Penguin in the UK. So this will be available next year, I hope early spring. And it's called Mastering ADHD for Women. It will be the title. So that's one other source of information, because I think knowledge is power
Yes.
for doctors, but also sure for patients. Because if you know where your complaints come from, how to label it, how it's working, then you are more powerful than before to address the problems with your GP or your gynecologist or psychiatrist. And if they don't know exactly what I'm talking about here, then you have those resources to refer to. You can print my paper that was published in Frontiers, and show the page where you want to talk about. And this everything should be available. The knowledge should be shared and should be available to both patients and professionals. And we're working on that. But it's still very new, and people should also understand that it's not the fault of the GP that he is not fully aware of all these developments, because it's very, very new and recent.
Yes, that's what we discovered when we were looking for research and information on the overlap between menopause and ADHD, that there's a huge gap. There's not enough information. And so we're so grateful to uh, researchers, professors, and scientists like yourself who are now stepping up to this work and doing the hard work to make this happen. The
Mhm.
more women know, obviously, the more they're able to discuss with their doctor or gynecologist what they feel like they need or what they want to know more about, and then be able to empower not only themselves but their physicians to be able to help them correctly. So you mentioned the ADHD bank, information bank. How would women access that to be able to get the short videos or to subscribe to it?
Yeah, it's called ADHD
ADHD Power Bank.
powerbank.com. So you can go to this website and take a subscription, and then you have access to I think now 40 videos. And it's not all about women. It's also about how to diagnose ADHD and what's required for a diagnosis. It's about the comorbidities with mental disorders, but also with physical disorders of the immune system, of hypermobility, of obesity, cardiovascular disease, and so on and so on and so on. So there's a lot comorbid with ADHD, also physically. It's impressive, actually. So people with ADHD really have to fight all their lives for understanding and for recognition and for good help. And my conviction is that only education is helpful for both patients and professionals. So that's why we started this ADHD Power Bank with the short videos. So everybody can use it if they like.
It sounds amazing. I'm going to access that myself. I shared with you earlier that I was diagnosed as a hyperactive child at 2 years old. And then later, when they actually began to use the term attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I was diagnosed with ADHD. So I know that struggle, that ongoing every day. And I know that there are also tips and things that can help women through this time. Ways to, I've learned ways to set alarms, and especially now these days that we do have things like smartphones that can set alarms and reminders and things like that. It's
Mm,
much easier
mm,
than it was in the
mm.
70s and 80s when I was
Sure.
really struggling with this. Do you have anything specific that you'd like to tell women they might research or find out more about that would help them through this time?
Yeah, I think sleep is important,
Mm.
and lifestyle issues, but also sleep and lifestyle issues are often disturbed in ADHD, so it's not easy to fix it. So again, there you need knowledge. What kind of sleep problem am I facing? I have a video on the most common sleep problem in ADHD is the delayed sleep phase disorder. That means that you're a late evening type person that prefers to go to bed late. And during menopause, it even gets more disturbed also by estrogen loss. And then sleep is really also impacted by hot flashes and night sweats, or by restless legs, or by whatever comes in addition. So menopause and sleep are not big friends. So H hormone suppletion therapy may help for sleep in a few weeks, but also melatonin can be helpful. Melatonin is the medication we use to reset the clock to an earlier phase in order to be able to sleep at an earlier time and make longer nights. And maybe it's important to mention the dose, because people think that you need a lot, which is not true. You need only 0.5 milligrams
Okay.
or 1 milligram at max to reset the clock effectively. We measured it, so that's proven. And you also need it every day, because if you stop in 2 weeks, your rhythm will be late as it was. And so people think, well, I do sleep well, so I can stop. No, you are a late evening person and you will remain a late evening person all your life. So if you want to sleep earlier, you have to reset the clock on a daily basis. Keep doing that, but with a very low dose. And my advice would be around 10 p.m. in order to sleep at 11. And this won't work in a week, but it will work in a few weeks.
That's fascinating to hear, because now you can go into a pharmacy and buy bottles of melatonin gummies and melatonin tablets, and they say, take two if you can't sleep, or take three if you can't sleep, a lot higher dose than what you're suggesting. And
Yeah.
they often suggest that you just do it on the nights you can't sleep or you're having difficulty, as opposed to ongoing doing it every day.
Yeah. So knowledge is power. And it makes all the difference between being on your own and struggling and not, it doesn't work. Because if you take high dosages, you get a bit of what's it called? You get too much levels of high levels of melatonin during daytime, because it's not cleared out of the body sufficiently, and then you are sleepy during daytime, and you won't perceive it, because you're used to being sleepy during daytime, because you have ADHD and sleep loss all the time. But it's not helpful. So the high dose should be skipped completely, because it's not about a sleep aid, it's a clock aid. It advances your clock, and that takes a bit of time. So be patient and continue with the low dose every day, and then you will see changes.
That's fascinating, something that I didn't know about. Um, Another thing I'd love to ask you is, do you have any advice? There are a lot of coaches, professional coaches, who help women with these issues. Do you have any advice for coaches about how best to help their clients?
Well, yeah, I think coaches also need knowledge in order to give the right advices. So they also may need education somehow. And I think it's important to support women, to tell them they're not crazy, to tell them that they're still able and capable, but that their biology is just failing them. That's actually happening, and this is not their fault. It's something common for every woman, but not every woman is neurodiverse, and that makes all the difference. So I think education to the patient on what's going on in this episode is crucial, to restore self-esteem and to restore the feeling of self-control,
Mhm.
and also support among women themselves is very helpful and a powerful tool to help each other to understand what's going on and give each other tips that work for you, may work for you. That's also very important. So there are a lot of self-help groups already online for women with ADHD, and you are the podcast is another one that helps in the future, I hope.
I hope so too. That's our intention, is to truly help women through this time, and to feel more secure in themselves.
Yeah,
There's a lot of articles being written about women who are leaving the workplace. They're very capable, very professional. They bring an area of expertise to their field, and yet they often leave during this menopause
I
time.
know. Yeah, it's a socio-economic crisis.
Yes.
Because we cannot miss those women in the workplace, especially in education and in healthcare. Many women are leaving around the age of perimenopause because they just can't function anymore. And what we should do is understand it, treat it, and help them to gain control back. Yeah.
Do you know if there are any programs or videos or podcasts that might help the workplace to understand how to support their professional women that are going through this, whether it's menopause only or menopause and ADHD overlap?
Yeah, in my country, this is starting now.
Mhm.
It's called Energy Platform, but it's only in Dutch so far, as I know. But could be translated, of course. And this is done by me and the H3 network, so the Head Heart Hormones Network, consisting of a psychiatrist, cardiologist, and gynecologist, dealing especially with complex perimenopause, including those of women with ADHD.
Oh,
And
wow.
and this is meant for employers and insurance doctors and that kind of people, and also the women themselves in the workplace.
Oh, that's well, I wish we did have that. Maybe we could be translated. That would
You
be a
can ask.
wonderful, yes,
Yeah,
we can find out about that because that would be very helpful.
mm,
Often it's not understood by the workplace, needless to
I
say,
know.
and there's very not only not support, but almost punishment in the reviews or
Mm, yeah, I
in
know.
exactly what has been being said to the woman in the workplace and how she feels about it. And
Yeah.
of course, it's also true in personal relationships. I would love to also point out that your recent review that came out is in Frontiers, so women can find that. It's Frontiers in Global Women's Health. And that would be a place that you can actually find the research paper, the review, and read about it. And there will be this other study coming out. I'm excited to hear that. That would be, we will follow up with our viewers and our listeners to let them know how to access that as well. I'm with you that education is power, knowledge is power. And unfortunately, many women have been told that this, oh, your grandmother did it, your great grandmother did it, just tuck your chin in and throw your shoulders back and get through it, power through it. And it's not true that it's that easy. And it's
Yeah.
not true that we should be somehow ashamed if we cannot cope as well as we think we should cope with this.
Yeah, if men would lose their testosterone, the world would be different, huh?
That's true. Absolutely. That's absolutely. Suddenly things would be changed. Even now, the research that I've been reading, most of the research on ADHD has to do with male subjects. That's who's been, included in research studies as opposed to females. And it's very, very different, needless to say. And certainly
Yeah.
when there's this overlap.
Yeah, and we have been, all women have been excluded from research in medicine as a whole due to the cycle. You know why? The hormones impact every system in the body. And this made us unreliable subjects in research because it changes all the time. And therefore, the men, choose not to study the women because we were too complicated. And that's the reason that we now have to feel ashamed. No, sorry, we have to do better. And so it's now the time will change. It's a revolution, in fact, going on worldwide in women, in patient organizations, but also in science. And I must say, especially female scientists are picking up, are taking the lead now, as they can relate to cyclical difficulties as they are women and themselves. And men have more difficulty understanding what's really, how does that feel? What does it mean? And then it's also always easy to say you're just should put more effort, you should take more attention, pay more attention, you should do better. But if biology fails you, this is a non-argument, in fact. And we should also look into lifestyle, but especially into biology to support women.
Absolutely, absolutely. It has been such a pleasure talking to you. I could talk to you all day. I hope that you'll come back and be on our podcast again. We're hoping to make this be something that's ongoing to help women as opposed to something that's just for the month of October, which is the World Awareness Month for menopause. And it's also the World Awareness Month of ADHD. So it was interesting that those two were both assigned to the month of October. So this is the end of our this episode of The Fog and the Fury. But women, if your brain's still buzzing, or maybe it's just a little pleasantly foggy, this that's okay, because there's big complex topics, and we're just getting started with all the information. And we're so thankful to Dr. Coy for being here with us today. If you found this episode helpful, we'd love it if you watched us every week. If you subscribe, find us on YouTube, find us on Spotify Podcaster, share it with someone who might also be stuck in the hormonal neurological Venn diagram of the overlap of ADHD and menopause. And you're also, if you have questions or thoughts or ideas, we'd be glad to give you some free tips to help you navigate the fog and the fury of menopause and ADHD, or to have you join our support Facebook page, which we could do if you email us at the support at thefogandthefury.com. Again, support at thefogandthefury.com. Thanks so much for listening. And even if the fog rolls in, know that you are not alone in it. We are here for you with wonderful professors like Dr. Coy. Thank you so much for being
Thank you
here.
so much. Thank you.